So the project I'm working on is this, which looks rather uninteresting, but you can see there's a very gentle hem stitching going on there, and inside we have French lavender. So this fabric I bought in France when I was there. This is heirloom hand embroidered linen, which was from a pillowcase that my friend gave me because the pillowcase had a tear in it and she had no idea what to do with it for a project. She'd had it for years sitting there and couldn't figure out what to do. So she gave it to me to use for a project. So as you'll know with me, inside must look as good as the outside. So you can see down in there that linen goes all the way to the bottom. It's a perfectly sealed package, perfectly detailed. I've used a French seam here, so it's the smallest seam possible enclosed on the inside, and I've made these packages out of rolls of netting, just small netting. So this of course smells lovely, and what you can see probably better in the light now, I'll zoom in maybe, you can see the hem stitching. It's hard to tell if it's showing up very well in the camera, but anyway, there's the L there on both sides, so you have to do it twice. It'll show up more of this, I'm guessing, on this, as you can see here, but the idea is it's there, and it's just a detail on top of everything, and the white fabric will show through gently. Very subtle, but the stitching's on top. So I hope you found that interesting. So there are lots of ways of getting the pattern traced in order to permit the hem stitching. In this case, what I've done is I've traced the reverse of the L, so for L for lavender. Let me make sure, where's the arrow up? There's the arrow up. So there's the reverse of the L for lavender. And I've traced it onto the tarlatan. So here's just a piece of tarlatan. It's nice and easy to trace it on through there. And that's a reverse image. So if you look, if I flip it around, you can see that's an L. So it makes it easy. You just trace it on the reverse side. And so you could do it on here as well, but I didn't want anything to show through except for the hem stitching. I was worried that anything I traced this with, I could have used chalk maybe, but I was just worried that anything I traced might impact or show up and ruin the package. So therefore what I did, just trace that with an erasable marker onto the tarlatan. The other ones I used a permanent marker. It doesn't really matter because it's on the back side and you won't see anything of it anyway. And then what I can do now is hem stitch through the tarlatan. What it means, you need to check before you start stitching that your bobbin tension is perfect, because the bobbin tension is what's going to be on the front side. So the important bit is to understand what to do with the threads to start off. I read the instructions of what it says to draw up the threads. So I've got it at the beginning, and what I'm going to do is the foot pressure, or the foot is, actually I'll bring it up now, but it's up. So when I bring this up, oop, didn't catch that time, do it again. Okay, that's brought up the bobbin threads this time. So just bring them up. So you, like with free motion embroidery, bring them, all of the threads up to the top. So now I have all the threads, and I can hold them securely to start stitching. So I've got all 4 threads here. There's a little hook on the foot which makes it easier to keep them secure. There's just a tiny little place on the hook. Drop the needles down and the foot pressure, just spin it to make sure it's working well. And what I'm going to do is I will just keep dropping it into that hole until it does the 3 stitches in the hole, and that therefore secures all the threads, and then I can just start stitching. So that's done all 3 now. So now what I can do is start sewing. So I'll leave those threads there for a few more stitches, and then I'll snip them off. Okay, so off we go. You can see I've still got the pins in there. I'll leave them in for a few more stitches, and then I will remove it. So you can see with the new balance wheel, it's lovely and slow. You can count the 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and you can stop on a dime. So I've stopped, needle down. It allows me to lift it, remove the pins, and off we go again. So that's 3. So that means I can actually spin it now. What we'll do is we might zoom in just a bit more. And off we go again. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So that's a perfect speed for this curved type of stitching with a hem stitcher. Drop it down, and I can spin it now. So it's much easier to do this. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Just bring the piercer up so we can spin it. So what happens on the third drop is it drops the front piercer. Let's see if I can show you this. There's a front piercer as well as the main piercer between the needles. So this has 2 piercers. What you have to do is make sure when spinning that the front piercer is out of the fabric. So it means you continue with the stitch a slight bit just till the needle's up. 2, 3. So there you can see it's up. So that's all you have to do is make sure it's out of the fabric. And then into the 1, 2, 3. So this time I am going to spin it, the piercer's up. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2. This is why you have to do it slowly. If 1, 2, 3, oops. So I actually want to spin it a bit, so we'll spin it a bit. So you always have to spin it when it's closed needles on the third stitch. So there's that one in there, and I can spin it a bit more. 1, 2, 3. So I can, of course, sew faster. If I were on the straight, I would sew faster, but because I've got all these curves, I have to do it slowly to make sure that I can pivot it to follow the curves carefully. Let's see, so I'll spin this slightly, and off we go again. So I can speed up now because I'm on a straight or narrow here. Slow down again. Okay, so we need to do a little pivot here. Another little pivot here. Oops. So put the needles down, pivot a bit more. Okay, another pivot. And we're around the tight bend. So we can speed back up. Slow down again because we're going around the opposite curve the other way. Just make sure we're covering this. Speed up a bit here. And we're getting to the tight curves. So we'll put the needles down. Oops. Pivot it slightly. Okay, pivot it slightly. Pivot it slightly again. Right. Pierces up. 1, 2, 3. Oops, too far. So we'll have to pivot it on this stitch. Okay, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. I'll pivot on this one, I think. There we are. So I can remove this pin now. I don't need it. Almost around the bend. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Pivot it slightly. 1, 2, 3. Now we can go straight away. Speed up. 1, 2, 3. Pivot on this one. Pivot it slightly. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Pivot it slightly because we're going to distraction. 1, 2, and that's it. 3. That's the end of it. So what we'll do is we'll go back into the hole again, just to secure the stitches so that we finish the transaction. Okay, so rock the needle a bit, that will free up. And the moment of truth, the great reveal. So the hem stitching is pretty good. It actually looks like one of the bobbins is a bit tight. But the holes, the piercing is good. One of the bobbins is definitely a bit tight, so I need to loosen it. But once I remove the tarlatan, the puckers will go away. So it's a beautiful L, as you can see. And that looks really smart. I'll remove the tarlatan because that holds it, and then that prevents the fabric from stretching back out to its normal. So it's easy. You just cut away all the tarlatan and pull it away, and then it'll go to normal. So I've adjusted the bobbin tension and done the second one, and I am really happy with those results. That looks absolutely beautiful. Had a couple thread breaks, but even following the technique of pulling the bobbin threads up to the top, you can't really tell. Really nice. So I haven't removed the tarlatan yet, so that will make it lie a bit flatter, but the results are beautiful. If any of you are interested in making this, for the outside squares you cut 2 6-inch squares and you cut one strip of 1.5 by 16 inches, which goes around the sides and the bottom. Then you hem stitch whatever letter you want. In this case it was L for lavender, R for rose in this case. Then you sew the 2 packages one inside out. And that's how you join them together, so you make a package. Then if you want the inside lining, which folds down with the lace edging, it's 11.5 by 7 3/4. You just sew it together and you fit it inside. And then if you want to make the inside netting, they're 2 times 5.5 inches, and you sew them all the way around, but leaving a hole to fill them. And then you just flip the edge over and sew it shut.